All right, so here we go on chapter 9. On this chapter, part of it will be on the first part of the test that you have, and part of it will be on the second part of the test you have. So the first day you're going to have maybe 7 questions, second day around 6-ish, I think. So a quadratic. Basically, a quadratic is the mother function of it, or the parent function, is going to be y equals x squared. And if you remember, y equals x squared forms a parabola. It looks kind of like this. Not perfectly drawn, but the best I can do on a smartboard. And so there are some things that you need to know. First of all, the number in front of your x squared is always going to be labeled your a. So oftentimes when you're finding things for quadratics, if you're just solving without a graph, oftentimes you want to write a equals, b equals, and c equals. Now we don't have actual numbers in here, but these things will help you to find stuff. So a is always in front of the x squared, b is always in front of the x, and c is always at the end. Now if there's one piece that you're like, hey, there is no just plain like 2x or negative 5x, then b might be 0, and if there's no just constant number at the end, then that might be 0 as well. So some properties of a quadratic. First of all, you have the axis of symmetry. That's where it folds. And so this is something to get into your notes. Axis of symmetry. And the way you can find that, it's always going to be an equation. And because it's an up and down line, it's always going to be x equals, then it's going to be the opposite of b all over 2a. So if you have an equation, you just write down a equals, b equals, c equals, and then you can do the opposite of whatever b is all over 2 times whatever a is. So that is number 1. Then once you find that, you can now find the vertex. Okay? If your parabola looks like this, that's going to be, your vertex will be a minimum because it's at the bottom. And if your parabola is like this, the vertex will be a maximum because it goes up, up, up to a maximum height and then falls back down. So now if you found this right here, for your vertex, that's always going to be an ordered pair. So whatever you got for your axis of symmetry, that's going to go right here. And then you just take whatever number this is and you plug it back up into your formula up here. And so you just kind of write parentheses, square, parentheses. And so I'll go through and show you a couple like that. There will also be something super important called the quadratic formula. You'll have 3 questions on that. So you should definitely write that into your notes. And we'll talk about that when we get to that question on here. So let's answer a couple of questions in a review. First one. This says, graph the quadratic, label and identify the vertex and the axis of symmetry. Okay, so here it is. First of all, look in front of the x squared. What does it say? Okay, now that gives you an indicator of what graphs it could be and which it couldn't. So there's 2 for sure that are not going to work. This one isn't going to work, and this one isn't going to work. Since that's a negative, you know that it's going to be an upside down, like that, and that the vertex will be a maximum. So there are a couple of different ways to do this. Oh, sorry, it's getting late and I'm yawning. If you know how to, you could just find the axis of symmetry. You always have to have the x equals, and then it's going to be the opposite of b all over 2a. Well, down here I'm just going to write a equals, b equals, and c equals. So I look at a is -1. It's always the number in front of your x squared. I don't actually see a number, so that means there's a 1 there, and the negative sign makes it negative. B is -4, because it says -4, and C is +3. So my axis of symmetry is going to be x equals the opposite of b, so 4, all over 2 times -1. So my axis of symmetry is going to be at x equals -2. And I can just label that axis of symmetry. So if that's the case, then this right here, oh, that wasn't very good. It's right in the middle. This is going to be my 1 because this has an axis of symmetry at 2. Now, the hard part about that is now I have to find the vertex. Well, if I know that -2 is my x value, what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy down this equation. So I'm going to write negative, and then there's an x, so I'm going to put a parentheses, squared. And then it says -4 times x, and then plus 3. And then I look over here, I know that x is -2. So plug in -2, -2. Okay, now I think through mathematically. On this one, I have to do the -2 squared first. -2 times -2 is +4. But then there's the negative out front, so that's -4. Then plus 8, see if you can follow y, and then plus 3. So my ordered pair, the vertex is going to be at -2, 7, because -4 plus 8 is +4, plus 3 is 7. Okay, so there's my vertex. I know that that's going to be a maximum because it's up at the top. Now, if I look up at this, I think, hey, that is not drawn to scale. You are so right. I don't know what happened. Either it's not to scale or they just flat out did the wrong pictures, but this has the right axis of symmetry. And then, I don't know, maybe they're counting by 5s or something. All right, let's try the next one. This one, match the following 4 equations with the correct graph below. Now, let's see. This one, so I know a couple. This one's going to be a negative. This one's going to be a negative. This will be a positive. This will be a positive. Up front. Now you've just got to figure out which ones are skinnier and which ones are wider. So, if you look at these pictures, oh look, they're part of a graphing calculator. They're just pictures from a graphing calculator. So, you will have a graphing calculator, so here's a picture. What you need to do, you click right here, click on the y equals. Oh, look, I have something there from last time. And I'm just going to plug this in. Now see how that says -5x squared? You have to hit the negative, not the minus. So there's 5, x is up here, and squared is right there. Okay, now I want to see what that looks like. Right off the bat, I know that that is going to be upside down. So here I'm going to graph it. Oh, look! It's the thinner one. Okay, so that means A goes with this one. So that means C must go here. If you don't believe me, then you just go back in and hit y equals. And I'm just going to do number 2. Do you see how mine is blue and red? If you have your own calculator, you might have different colors. I'm going to say negative, and then I'm going to put 1/5 in parentheses. Just because it's a fraction, I want to make sure it sticks. So x squared, graph it. Okay, so blue will be the skinnier one. Oh, look, there, it's wider. Okay, so that, yep, that's C. Now, if that's the case, B, is that going to be the thinner one or the wider one? I think it's going to be the thinner one, so this will be B, and this will be D. If you need to check it, you're more than welcome to check that on a graphing calculator. You don't get to use Desmos, you'll have an actual graphing calculator. So, if you have one in your locker, bring it back now. Thank you. Alright, next. Find the vertex for the following equation. Alright, there are a couple of options here. I can put it into, so x equals the opposite of b all over 2a. If I do that, I know a equals 1, b equals 10, c equals 1. So x equals the opposite of b all over 2a. So x equals -5. But that's the axis of symmetry. That's not really what they're looking at. So I really want -5. How do I figure out what my next piece is? Well, I copy down the equation. You see that says x squared, so I go parentheses squared plus 10 times parentheses plus 1. Inside my parentheses, I put the -5. Okay, so this -5 squared is positive 25. Minus 50 plus 1. So I think it's going to be -5, 24. If I want to graph that, I totally can. So I'm going to pull up my graphing calculator. Y equals, I'm going to move my graphing calculator over so I can see. Clear, go down, clear. All right, so when I type this in, I'm going to have x squared plus 10x plus 1. Okay, I go in and I graph it. Oh no, that doesn't work. So I know that it's going to be down here. Now in Desmos, you can just kind of flick it until you get there, but this, I'm going to hit zoom, and what I want to do is I want to zoom, well, let's try zoom in. Let's see what it tells me. Okay, so now, nope, that one's not going to help. Okay, so zoom. Let's try zoom. There's this one that's super pretty. I'm going to go zoom fit right here. So I'm going to hit 0. Zoom fit is super nice. Do you see? So it's down here, but I got to figure out what that is. So now that I've got that, I'm going to go zoom box. And on zoom box, what I can do is just go down, down, down. And I'm just going to make a box around this. But it doesn't want to move. Alright, so maybe that is not going to help. See this? This is why you need to be able to do it numerically. I'll see if I can get that to work. Alright, so that wasn't working, so I'm just going to go, I clicked this button called window. And do you see how the y minimum is at -4? Or at -24? So what I'm going to do is just kind of keep it there and then maybe do this to, I don't know, 25. It's counted by ones. Okay, that's fine. Now I'm going to graph. Oh, look, I see it now. Now, do you see, when I did that, I wrote positive 24, but I think actually should have been negative 24. So now going back into my calculator, I can see maybe negative 24 down here, so I'm going to go back into the window. This says negative 24, so I'm going to try it negative 26, just kind of making this up, and then positive or negative 20 to see where it goes. So if you're like, oh my gosh, this is not helpful, okay, then that's why you need to be able to do it numerically, but some of you will be able to just zoom in, and there it is right there. So that's at -5, -24. All right. So we're going to stop right there on this video because that was quite a bit right away.